Hello, friends, associates, members of the ETS. How's it going? Elion here. So today we're talking about the other half of the duo in regards to Ether Shades, who is a jaguar. Originally, he was a panther until I realized Black Panthers aren't a real thing like that. It's actually leopards and jaguars. Go figure. But we're not talking about him today. Well, not directly about him. He's in association to this other person who, I mean, you can't see her face, but I'll put it up here because I don't really have a wide shot of her. Well, I have one, but it doesn't look as, it's more of a wide built version of her because the artistic style is different. It doesn't really have the same body type I was shooting for when I, for it. So this one we have to do. I'll put her head up here. You see what her head looks like. Boom. There you go. We're talking about Serena, or more specifically, Serina Ashford. I say Ashford because I was gonna say like Ashcroft, but I was like, that's they both sound like Resident Evil last name, so I was like, whatever. But the idea with her when she was first being made is I based her off of a friend I used to RP with who was a street racing bounty hunter police officer. Yeah, she did like three different things. It was weird. But ori- originally we kind of became like a partners in crime kind of duo. She'll post and talk about it, but also there's a thing about female role players. They get really popular online with people who want to RP with them, sometimes in the lewd sense, the ERP versions, and etc. etc. So yeah, she had a lot of people flocking to her. And I guess I got lucky that she singled me out because, like, I mean, I know it sounds stupid. Like, I want to be like, oh, yeah, no, I wasn't with the crowd. No, no, I totally was. But not in the same sense. Like, there were people who were trying to look cool, and there were people who were trying to be her friend and all this other stuff, and I was just kind of vibing. Like, if in a giant group chat, I was just kind of like kicking it. So we kind of became friends that way. Once after a while, though, we kind of went our own ways, and I and I don't mean to say we drifted apart like a bad thing, because not everyone's meant to be in your life forever. But it's more along the lines of we were there, it was cool where it was, then we went our separate ways. So, in honor of her, when I first made Ether, I was like, he needs a partner. Not necessarily a romantic partner, but a partner to help him in his endeavors. So I came up with Serena, which was the name of the character that she had. I mean, she used a lot of different characters. Like think of like a profile picture. They weren't like custom made. They were just like random, I guess, personas that she just put every now and again. Anyone with a gun, really, she would use. But when I made her, I was like, okay, same thing as Ether. I wanted simplistic colors. So simple gray pattern, blue hair. She has a little circle around the eye and a streak through the tail. I liked it. It fits her, a little bit out there. So eventually, it was more along the lines of now what to do with her. So I kind of kept her story the same as was what her original one was. You know, still a bounty hunter, still innocent. Well, here's the thing: she can't do all three. She can't be a bounty hunter, a street racer, and a cop all at once. That's just like that's not possible for obvious reasons. Unless she was a corrupt cop or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I decided to change the story around a little bit. As it starts for her, she is a pyromancer. Much like how Ether is a shadowmancer, she's a pyromancer. She has pyrokinesis. She can manipulate fires and the flames around her, and even conjure them like from nothing. And the cool thing is when she kicks her body into like overdrive, like she has like a burst mode or like a burst limit mode, kind of like how like the Phoenix forms around Jean Grey when she like activates it. Her hair goes red, the streaks on and the circle, like all of her like highlights flip colors. her gray skin goes white, and she basically goes into like massive, like her power basically skyrockets up to like she can at that point she can like summon like a big flaming meteor and etc. etc. But that's like her ultimate move, like last ditch effort kind of thing. Outside of that, she fights with like a variety of pistols. Like Ether is more of a close-up brawler. Like she can fight too, but she sticks with her guns mostly. So, pop, pop, and everything. So, but early on, before she met Ether, she was just, your average everyday girl, a bit of a thrill seeker, a rebel at times, and she was a troublemaker, which got on the nerves of her father, who was a police officer at the time, been on the force for years, etc., etc. And while she butted heads with the man, she did love him, respected him, wanted to follow in his footsteps, so to speak, after a while. But at one point, her father was killed. But the problem was, it wasn't like in the line of duty, like, busting up a drug bust or stopping a shooter. No, someone broke into her house and did it, which left her orphaned. And over time, she had a desire to catch the killer, or more specifically, get revenge. So she wanted to figure out who it was. And over time, she did. She discovered it was a hit given by da 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 Finn. Obviously, it's Finn, the Hammerhead Shark Kingpin, who was under the current protection of Ether, because her father had refused to take a bribe and looked the other way when he discovered like his ongoings and even the blacklist, which he was going to expose at first. So, as a quote unquote favor to the organization who runs it, he decided like, I'll have him dealt with, and he did. He just didn't know she had a daughter. I mean, sorry, she. Right? He didn't know that Serina's father had a daughter. I said that wrong. So she was left alive, which obviously led her on a trail for revenge. So she trained with her guns, went to the range. She got his old muscle car and souped it up over the years, bit by bit, adding new features to it, making it a monster on the field. And she eventually became a police officer. And then in her free time, she did street races. Obviously, she had to go under a new name, a new moniker, so that people, and even put on like disguises so people wouldn't recognize her. And she went by the nickname Backburner because her car was always burning rubber, and the exhaust was loud as hell. Like the car, basically, when the engine roared, it screamed, like it hollered, like you could hear it for blocks. Like that car is not subtle in the slightest. But it also had gears. She could shift up, shift down in terms of its intensity, because obviously having a car go that fast, that much, that like she like essentially if she didn't push out that much exhaust all at once, the car would probably blow up or catch fire because it is dangerous. But again, with her pyrokinesis, she's able to keep it running a lot better because she can easily pull the heat out of the engine and out of the other components into herself so it doesn't just straight up, you know. But the problem with doing that too is that she can cook her body if she's not careful by building up all that excess heat, so she has to let it out sometimes. Or she's constant. That's why she's constantly drinking a bunch of cold beverages, cold showers, etc., etc. Like anything she can to keep her body under control. And then when she has all that excess heat, she just kind of like throws it out into the night sky every now and again to like regulate her body temperature. So eventually, when she does discover that it is Finn himself who had taken her father, she's like, okay, how do I reach him? Or more specifically, how do I ruin everything that he is? Because she didn't just want him dead. She wanted him essentially erased from memory. No legacy, no nothing. But she didn't want to like do what he did, and she wasn't gonna like kill any family he had, because she wasn't that vengeful. Like he wasn't gonna erase his bloodline. So she found out about the blacklist, because that was like in her father's notes and what he was looking into. And as I said before, the blacklist is a secret organization. most criminals, in a sense, like most criminals worth their salt, know about it. Like your average everyday stick up crew or petty drug dealer or mugger isn't gonna know about it. But the big name criminals, the big like the people who are associated with that kind of a list, the gangs, the crooks, the burglars, the robbers, the assassins, the thieves, the like kingpins, the warlords, they know about it. And obviously, if they were ever to try to go public with it, they would disappear. A lot of them would disappear before you kind of get the message to go hush hush. So when she found out about it, the information, she was like, okay, I need to not only get on that list, I need to get above where he is. But she didn't want to be a crook, not like that, because she was still a cop, or more so. Eventually, a detective. So at the time, she was training, she was getting better and stuff. Because her weapons, because she's more of a shooter, she obviously has dual pistols, because of course she does, one on each hip, nice and sheathed, and then she has a pump action shotgun, a anti material rifle. I'm not making that up, and your standard M16 assault rifle. Now, obviously, she touches them up every now and again, puts different attachments on them here and there. But the whole point of those things is that she has a walking arsenal, and it's usually in her. She usually keeps them in her car or something, and her car is bulletproof. And that's the thing. Her car is so identifiable. She doesn't ever drive it to work. She only brings it out when she's street racing, usually, because obviously they would be able to trace it back to her and be like, "Hey, isn't this crazy powerful car the one you take into work every day?" Yeah, she's not stupid. So eventually, over the years, she develops herself and she tracks down Finn to the city and everything that he's in. So she has to decide, like, all right, I can bust the guy, I can kill him, or I could like essentially ruin everything that he is. I can technically do all three. But first she has to get close to him. In their lies where she first meets Ether. Because she catches him at one of the races chasing down a kid or a young teen named Jack, this little rabbit who is street racing, and his mother wanted him brought home. So that's what she had Ether do. It's explained a bit more in his story, but that's how she learns who he is. If she sees his face, recognizes it, looks up some stuff, and realizes he's essentially a kind of not a loan shark, but an enforcer. Now, typically that would be small time, but he's pretty good at what he does, so he kind of builds up his own little bit of notoriety. Not enough to get on the blacklist, but enough to get the eyes or attention of some other people. So one day, after she kind of like mentally tags him, she looks up some information, finds out where he usually frequents from people, tracks him down, and that's kind of the start of their own little story here and there. But I'm not going to talk about that one. That's going to be its own video when I discuss like how they both start working their way up and trying to essentially as a team become part of the blacklist. Because at the moment she was still in her planning phase. And while Ether is a bit more reserved in his demeanor and his mannerisms and everything, she is more hot-headed, passionate, like direct. She's the kind of person who will walk in there, punch a person in the face, and then dare everyone else in the room to try to do something about it. Like where he's the power, she's the soul when it comes to the two of them. Because which she cares a lot. Not necessarily about everyone, but when she believes in something or she sees like an injustice, she tries to act against it. And when she wants to get payback, she is going to get it. Like she is very driven like that. And she's also, in a sense, the leader. Like he helps level her out when they come to planning and stuff, but she kind of just follows her instincts when she does stuff. And at the same time, like she is a bit of uh let's say an homage in sense to my old friend. So when I think about the two of them, I always think of these little scenarios, these little jobs they could be doing, these little ideals. And she still fits it, pretty much. She's a fighter, she's a lover of life, and she's a bit of a thrill seeker. Quite frankly, can't really word her any other way. Or I can't word her better any other way. And once we get to that point, I think we're going to discuss, at least not in the next video, but like maybe a few videos down the line, their actual story together. Because again, it actually is fairly fun to like reminisce, but also you get to see how they finished their journey essentially, or at least how they get to where they are now at that point.